Close your eyes and imagine the backdrop for the fairy tales you loved as a child. Now open them. If you're standing on the shores of Lake Bled, Slovenia, seeing the church-topped island and the castle-topped cliff, then you're already there. Is this the most beautiful place on Earth? I certainly think so, and I'm not alone. Millions of visitors have marveled at the fairy tale perfection of Bled, Slovenia. This podcast brings you the wonders of Bled, its people, places, foods, history, and experiences. Everything you need for a perfect holiday. I'm your host, Noah Charney, and this is the Bled Podcast. Is this the most beautiful place on Earth? Let's begin. Drive towards Lake Bled from the highway and you'll pass a giant golf ball. I'd passed it countless times before I actually visited the golf course associated with it. I was truly amazed when I first saw the Royal Bled Golf Course. It is magnificent, whether or not you're a golfer. But for golfers, it's on a worldwide bucket list of the most admired and challenging courses on the planet. In this episode, we'll introduce the Royal Bled Golf Course and speak with the man who best represents it, PGA Professional trainer Daniel Krajlic. Daniel Krajlic is the resident PGA Professional trainer at the Royal Golf Club, completely fluent in several languages and so beloved and admired that people will come to Royal Bled to learn from him, and after cultivating friendships over the course of years, to visit. Such was the case with a German couple who were playing the links when he was trying, very patiently I should add, to teach me how to putt. Let it be said that I've only played golf around 3.5 times in my life, though I've enjoyed it each time, recognizing that if I were to be decent enough to play properly, it would become a favorite pastime. Daniel's surname would translate as of the king, and nomen est omen as they used to say in Latin. He was born here and lived for his first 12 years in the main building that currently houses the Royal Clubhouse at the course. Back then it was something close to a squat with 10 apartments, no electricity, no water, and only an outhouse for comforts. The Royal Bled Golf Course opened in 1937, making it among the oldest in Europe, and of course the first in Yugoslavia. It began as a 9-hole course designed by Rudolf von Gelmini, an Austrian nobleman. The royal connection is to the Yugoslav royal family, the Karađorđevićes. Regent Prince Paule was the primary driver of it, and until his assassination, King Alexander of Yugoslavia kept a house at Bled. The grand opening was scheduled for the 10th of July, 1937, with Prince Edward, the Duke of Windsor, to attend. This was put off a year until the full 18-hole course was completed. But by that time, the Second World War was on the horizon, so the grand opening never happened. After the Second World War, Yugoslav socialism frowned upon things related to feudalism and aristocracy, so the Royal Golf Course fell into disrepair. But in the 1950s, when Daniel was living there, it was just a shell. To warm themselves at night, Daniel recalls, he used to take, quote, a hot brick wrapped in a towel, as he told me, into bed with him, the brick warmed by a wood and coal fire, the only source of heat. He walked many kilometers every morning to get to elementary school in a neighboring town, regardless of the weather. Royal it may have been, but it was nothing of the sort when Daniel grew up here. I'll let Daniel tell his own story. Daniel, thanks so much for taking us around today at the Royal Bled Golf Course. Tell me a little bit about your background. I believe you actually spent some time in your childhood in this building, is that right?
Yeah, first of all, it was my pleasure taking you around. Yes, many years ago, my parents immigrated actually because of jobs to Slovenia. They came from Croatia, just across the border. It's Međimurje, it's called the area. And they got their jobs in Jesenice. And I really, if I'm honest, I still don't know how they got the flat in this building, which used to be a king's residence one time many years ago. There's also a golf course in 1937 already, and maybe it's a luck. They came to Slovenia, they got their flat here in this building, and in 1973, actually, they reopened the golf course under the idea of some people from Bled. They rebuilt it, He got an architect from Switzerland. He was an English guy, but he lived in Donald Hardin was his name, and I was lucky to be practically born here. And the first 12 years of my life, I spent here in this house where we sit now, which is now the King's Clubhouse. And that's how I actually started playing golf. First there was a guy from England who was like a secretary in the club, who was here for the first guest who came to see this place. There were just few of them, and then somehow I got to know what golf is, and I started dreaming about becoming a professional at that time. But I was working as a caddy. I was carrying golf bags around the golf course for guests, which was just few of them at the beginning. And then in 1975, we had to go out of this building because they started to rebuilding it to change it into restaurant, hotel, and so on. So we left for Radolica, and I thought that will be the end of my golfing career because we were not obviously a rich family or something. But somehow our professor for physical culture, he was also a member of the club, and they got an idea to bring some kids to become members of the club. So he asked in school if somebody's interested to play golf. So, and I was the first one who jumped out. Yes, sure. Yeah, I was there. That was our house and so on. And I had few friends of mine who came here to do these courses. We started taking lessons with former teacher. He was Rafael Yerman was the first teacher here, and we started playing. And the only two guys who kept going, because this guy was quite tough to us, Rafael, very strict. We stayed and we continued playing. And this friend of mine, Dushan, he's still teacher here. He's not coming so often. And I started playing as an amateur. I was really a guy who wanted to become a professional golf player. I stick to amateur status quite long because that gave me the possibility to play golf around the world. And also the company here was supporting me. The one who was the owner of the golf course at that time, they were supporting me and helping me with travel expenses and so on. And I played a lot. I was quite a successful amateur player for Yugoslavian standards at that time. Then slowly I decided to become a golf teacher because we're not many. And so I started teaching here. Then went to school to England, Italy, started working in Lipica. From there, I went to Germany. I came back after 3 years, worked in Arboretum. And then in 2000, I came back here to Bled. And even now, under the new ownership, I'm still here. And I hope to spend the rest of my golfing career here because it's a lovely place.
So you were at a very high level, though. You won the Slovenian Open one year and then traveled to the US to play in a tournament.
My dream actually always was to become a playing professional because, you know, it's a PGA organization which has players who professionally are involved in golf, like teachers or architects or pro shop owners or some kind of, and then we have playing professionals, which we watch on the TV. And my dream always was to be one of them. But as I, make choices in life, and I became father when I was 21, quite early, followed my mother's footsteps. So I had a kid quite early, and it was difficult to combine, to find sponsors and this kind of stuff, to be financially well enough to be able to travel, to just do this, to just practice, just be playing professional, just look at yourself, because if you're a teacher, the students are important. If you're a professional player, you are the most important person. So I was combining playing and teaching, and I was actually quite successful. I also won the Slovenian Open, which became a part of European Challenge Tour, which is the second European league. And they said no chance that Slovenian guy would win for next 10 or 12, 20 years. But I somehow managed to win. And then they gave me the possibility to go and compete against the best players in the world a year later and 2 years later as well. And I saw that to be part of that, it has to be a completely different story. Cannot teach and play and so on. So I kind of played some mini tours, played Slovenian league and so on. I was always one of the best, or if not the best. I was still combining because there was always this desire in me to play, to be one of them. And I've continued as long as I could. And then some you come to the point when you see, okay, now I'm maybe too old. I cannot do this and this. So I waited, and when I was old enough, I said, now maybe I have a chance to start and try to qualify for the seniors tour.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I couldn't quit teaching because this was my income. It was more and more difficult to get sponsors in Slovenia because situations change. There are more owners of the companies. Maybe somebody would help you, somebody would not because he prefers tennis, skiing, sailing. Why should we go invest in golf? So anyhow, I collected some money. I went and tried. I missed the final qualifying by one shot
Oh
in
man, that's
Portugal.
tough.
Yeah. So that was my first and final stage of really trying to become a professional, teaching professional, playing professional. Since then, I didn't try anymore. I played local events. I played some pro-am tournaments where you play together with I'm just teaching now, mainly here. I worked with some better players who became professionals, especially girls. I had one Russian student. I was following her for 7 years. I was traveling with her quite a lot around Europe, also to the States. But then she became a scholarship from Miami. She went there and now she studied there and now she became professional. So I'm not involved in her coaching anymore. So now I'm here in Bled trying to give the best possible treatment to our guests, which I think deserve to have the best possible treatment.
So Royal Bled is a gorgeous facility. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got restaurants, it's got hotel rooms. It's among the top 25 in Europe among golf courses. Tell me, as a golf player, what's special and unique about this, and what's the reason that if I'm a golf player but I've never been to Slovenia, I should really come here to play?
No, this is like a hidden diamond,
Mhm.
I could call it. You know, uh, this course also under the former ownership. It's placed in a nice part of the world, one of the most beautiful parts of the world. Me personally, I played about 700 golf courses around the world. Yeah, Asia, America, Africa, Europe. Okay, and I always, even I lived here as a kid. Always like to come back. The design of the golf course. It's very, as I said, you remember the holes, even if you play it once. After the round, the next day, every hole it stays somehow in your mind, because there are many golf courses around the world which are all the same design, kind of boring, which you play once and then you have enough for another year. Okay, we're not talking about members, they're somehow forced to play that same golf course, but the golf game is a type of game when every round is different, even if it's played on a boring golf course. And here we have surroundings, all these beautiful mountains, nature, design of the golf course, facility. Uh, if you compare this standard of maintenance level, what you get, if you compare it with some other golf courses, you get much less for much more money on those golf courses. Like here, we have to know this is Slovenia. As Anže mentioned, many Americans don't even know where exactly Slovenia is placed. If they would see the lake, the mountains, Bohin Lake, rivers, the green nature what we have, and the golf course itself, and the standard of rooms, restaurants, all the facility, they would be surprised. Maybe the only problem is that this is the only golf course which really has this type of standard. Because if I go as a golfer somewhere, I'd like maybe to have one or two more golf courses of a similar standard there. So I don't really have to play the same golf course every day because I would like to see something else. Because who knows if I will come again. But I think even if you decide as a tourist, okay, now I'll go and see golf in Slovenia. It's really very exotic. We can still call it, even if we play golf since, let's say now 73, it's still exotic. I guess I would be positively surprised when I would see this place, because also the new owner, he's putting a lot of effort to keep it like this. It's trying to make it better and better every year. It's growing, but keeping the place in condition like this, it's also a challenge. It's weather, diseases on the grass, all kind of, you know. When you think about golf, you say, Scotland, or Florida, California. And again, maybe in the winter, I go to Arizona, I go to Palm Springs, or so on. Or in Europe, you think now, very commercial place about golfing is Turkey, Antalya, Bele. Or in Europe, we'll go to Spain, Portugal. It's very famous golfing destinations. Not so quickly, Slovenia would come into your mind. I'll go and play golf there. But I think if you come, I think you're not disappointed if you come really here.
So one of the best things you can do is consider it a beautiful holiday. Stay
Yeah,
in Bled, and it happens to have a world-class golf course. Even
yeah,
if it's just one world-class level one in
yeah.
the country, it's a beautiful place to stay. It's an absolutely beautiful place to play. And you're right in the middle of the Alps. People don't associate Alps with golf courses, but this is a rare example of one.
I'm personally, they're asking me. I'm not playing golf that much anymore because I've spent all my life, put my relationships to risks, and I always, I said, it's a pity I'm here. I'm not that young anymore. I'll be 60 in November. Why should I do something else as well? I should use these possibilities I have. So I'm a huge fan of hiking. I go a lot in the mountains. Yeah, my girlfriend as well. I like going on a bike, mountain bike. There is so many places you don't need to put your bike on the car or somewhere and drive somewhere and then ride. Like from somebody from Ljubljana, he has to drive to Bled, and then they can just go out of my flat, start biking, hiking. And if somebody comes here with his family, there is a lot to do. Zip lines, hiking, biking, swimming in the lakes, boats, rafting, whatever you want, all guided if you want. So there is, even if it's just one top class golf course, there's a lot to do.
Well, this is absolutely the place to be. Thank you so much for hosting us today.
You are very welcome. I hope to see you again.
New owners took over in 2014, and the Royal Bled courses were updated in 2017 by another famous golf architect, Howard Swan. There are two ways to play here: King's Course, which consists of 18 holes, and then the smaller and frankly easier to play 9-hole Lake Course. But let it be said that unless you're already a very good golf player, then this course isn't really for you. And that's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. Royal Bled is a bucket list golf course. As in, if you were a golf enthusiast with 6 months to live, this would be on your short list of courses to play before you bonk in your final hole-in-one, if you know what I mean. The King's Course is really tricky, even for seasoned golfers. That's part of the appeal, along with the utterly spectacular backdrop of the mountains and Bled Castle on the horizon just 4 kilometers away. Royal Bled is not interested in quantity of guests, but quality. For instance, a golfer from Japan came to Europe expressly to play this course, arriving by plane and then helicopter. That sort of guest. There are elements of just how fantastic this course is that won't be evident to you as you drive or putt your way around it. For instance, I'm told that it has one of Europe's most advanced irrigation systems and a ground staff of 50 people. There's all the high-tech kit you could hope for, including a barn fitted with scores of cameras to analyze your swing. Membership is by invitation only, but anyone can book a lesson, stay in one of the luxurious clubhouse hotel rooms, or eat at the excellent restaurant. You can also play the course and rent equipment, but to do so, please send an inquiry in advance. Now I'm off to practice my putting. Daniel thinks I have talent, or maybe he's just being a very nice man. But with a pro who got me from 0 to actually hitting a golf ball sort of straight on a driving range in about 10 minutes, I'm probably just lucky enough to have found one of the world's best teachers. I normally end an episode by saying, next time you're in Bled, why not visit? But in this case, the best golfers are likely to make Royal Bled the destination, and while golfing, they might well visit Lake Bled. Whatever first brings you to this part of the world, you'll be glad you came. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bled Podcast. Is this the most beautiful place on earth? The official podcast of the Bled Tourist Board. In each episode, we explore Bled and its surroundings. You'll find it all here, in this image of paradise.